you would be applauding it and you would be giving it a star rating for the match.
Russo'sBrand.com, where the pros are the pros. Lions, Tigers, Bears, and head.
I want to show this, though. Al, I know you've seen this because you commented on this on Twitter, but this is from the Ring of Honor pay-per-view this past week in Dante Martin and Pentagon. And Dante Martin gets seriously injured from this spot. They didn't say exactly what it is. I mean, if it's not a broken leg, I'm completely surprised. But
is it going to be gruesome to look at?
It is gruesome.
Yeah,
you got to watch his left. It's his left leg. Now, there's going to be an alternate angle. Scott Ward sent in an alternate angle that I'll play after this one.
Okay.
But Al, you had commented on Twitter, like, why are we not going for the belts there, right? I mean, when the object is to win the match. I do want you to get into that. But
there's a guy underneath holding the ladder. I never noticed that. Right to the table.
Yeah, it's going to slow down now because it was hard to see in the fast motion. But if you watch his left leg, it crumbles and twists to the side there. Now, from this angle here coming up, you see it more clearly. This is like a fan shot.
Yeah.
And you can see
it goes and it's
and then when it pops back up, it is completely facing a incorrect direction there.
Yeah.
Like it just looks disgustingly nasty.
Yeah.
So, guys, I'm watching on or listening on audio. Vince totally did not watch that, but
I know I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. I get into the psychology of the belts because that was the big thing I took away from your Twitter. You know, the object. It's a ladder match for the belts, but then doing the whole spot. This guy's serious injury.
So, okay, I didn't see the whole match. I want to quantify that right off the top, and I think I said that on Twitter because, of course, some people started. I don't see all of the attacks. I'm sure, the criticisms and all that. I miss a lot of it, which is too bad. And I don't interact with them anyways. Somebody showed it to me, and my first initial reaction was, oh my God, I hope both of them are okay. But that was a ridiculous amount of risk for no reward. And then somebody asked something and I said, well, my problem with it is if the objective is to win the match, and I've had this critique. Remember the big WrestleMania match? They had the ladder match and Jeff Hardy was literally standing on like an 18 or 20 foot tall ladder. Could have literally just did this, turned around and went and picked out the belt. Could have taken the tag belts and chose to dive off of it onto Edge. Why? If the objective is to win, and again, I can't emphasize this enough, the only bump, the only consequence to anything you do to any of those other people in the ring is that they're not going to be able to win. They're not going to be able to climb the ladder, right? In that short clip, nothing, and I cannot emphasize this enough, nothing happened or transpired that made me understand the motivation for Penta to be willing to take such a physical risk instead of, once he had knocked Dante away, just simply turning around and retrieving the titles. Why? Even in as simple as Penta turned around to get them, Dante came back, he got Dante away again, turned around to get them again, Dante did it again, he then laces Dante again, gets frustrated, goes, you know what? I'm going to take this guy out and make sure he doesn't stop me from doing it ever again. I get that. That makes complete sense to me because you show me the frustration by Penta, who keeps trying to reach for the objective, and Dante keeps being a pest and keeps trying to stop him. And he goes, fuck it. I'm going to take Dante out permanently. Got it. If something had happened earlier in the match that Dante literally either had angered Penta so much that Penta at that point in the match was like, you know what? This isn't about the titles anymore. It's about whipping this guy's ass and then me going and getting the titles. I get it. I have no problem. You understand? Because you're going to have to take risks, but they have to make sense. I don't care if at that point in the match, something were to occur where Penta is so desperate that he feels that he has to take that kind of physical risk to eliminate Dante out of the equation so he and his partner have a better chance of getting the titles. Where I have an issue is that none of that, from what I can tell, occurred. So what that meant to me was you did it just for the glorification of doing it. And you now took a physical risk that clearly caused an injury that is going to be, without a question or a doubt, life-altering for this young man. He literally had a compound fracture of his ankle. I don't know if any of you know what are a medical expert. You know the anatomical situation with the ankle. That is one of the worst places to break, to injure, because it takes the most to heal and then never operates or functions in the same manner going forward. It's a far more complicated joint than your knee. And if you injure that joint, like he did, as severely as he clearly did, because his foot was literally hanging the opposite direction of the way it should, it almost was completely turned backwards. That means it's a compound fracture. That means that it has shattered that joint and all of the ligaments and all of the tendons. They're going to have to put screws and plates and bolts for him to even be able to walk properly. That kid's going to have to undergo a massive amount of surgery and physical rehab for months. He'll never be the same. Athletically, he'll never be the same. You know what I mean? And it was done for what? For a momentary reward, for a minimal amount of reward. It didn't even fit within the context of the match, in the objective of achieving or retrieving the titles. It didn't further any more emotion. It didn't direct or build any more story between Penta and Dante. It was literally done for a momentary pat on the back and, hey, we'll get noticed on the internet for a week until somebody replaces it with something equally ignorant, with equally a massive amount of risk, with little or no reward. And that's the problem. That is the problem, because that's what these kids are now all wanting to do. Because again, they're not motivated by doing any of this to generate a bigger audience. They're doing this to generate just praise and a pat on the back and a momentary acknowledgement that they did something. That's it. That Dante taking that, Penta doing it, is not going to motivate any more audience members to watch AEW on Wednesday or Ring of Honor on whatever day of the week it's airing. It will not motivate anyone to watch Ring of Honor in the next pay-per-view and go, oh my God, did you remember when Penta, I can't wait to see Penta and what he's going to do this time. It's not going to happen, because it doesn't. And it has been proven out. And yet it is, and you know, oh, well, you know what, who should be held responsible? The promoters and the producers. No, they shouldn't, because once the talent walk through the curtain, I don't care what you think or what you say. I had this conversation with a former writer at Impact one time, and he was, oh wow, you know, the producer, you were part of the company at that time, and he was like, oh no, actually I think you weren't. And he's like, you know, the producers should be responsible, you know, for when the talent blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you can't be. There's no way. Once they walk through the curtain, all bets are off. Literally, all bets are off. No matter what I've told them, whatever I've directed them to, it's their world. You can't be responsible. And literally, he gets called on the carpet, literally, like 10 minutes later, by Bruce or something, by Eric Bischoff, I forget, about someone, one of the talent, not doing the promo the right way, and he was being held responsible for them not saying what he told them to say. And I just looked at him and went, well, see, that's exactly my point. Once they walk through the curtain, it's their world. It is 100. You cannot control them. So you can't hold them responsible. You know who you can hold responsible? You, the fans, that continue to motivate these people to do this stuff by applauding it and rewarding it with your attention. You, the Dave Meltzers of the world, that if this kid hadn't gotten hurt and if people hadn't spoken out about, about the injury and about the irresponsibility of it, okay, you would be applauding it and you would be giving it a star rating for the match. And you would be continuously motivating these performers to perform the way they do to get a pat on the back and get your attention. Don't think so? We literally watched Britt Baker was a bloody mess backstage after a match. She turned to the camera and, well, I hope Dave Meltzer gives me a 5-star match for that. Not, I want to kill the bitch that made me bleed. No. She didn't sell the emotion of the event. She sold her concern about getting a critical acclaim. And that is what's turned this business on its head.